Hey folks, welcome to the MokzZ gaming channel. I'm thrilled to introduce you to the newest game in town, Honkai Star Rail. If you're a beginner and looking for the best way to get started, look no further. In today's video, I've got you covered with the ultimate guide to Honkai Star Rail, including the global F2P best tier list and reroll guide. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to keep up with my latest gaming updates. So, let's dive into the world of Honkai Star Rail. Is Honkai Star Rail worth playing? Sure. If you've played Genshin or Honkai Impact before, then you definitely shouldn't miss Honkai Star Rail. It combines features from both games, but what sets it apart is its premise, ideas, and sci-fi space setting, which is different from Genshin's fantasy world. I really enjoy the turn-based gameplay in this game. You can see enemy weaknesses on the field before entering battle. Each enemy is weak to specific elements and each character uses one element. Parties consist of 4 members and breaking happens when you attack an enemy with an elemental weakness. Using character action points can give you the upper hand, and each character has a basic attack, skill, and ultimate. The ultimates have unique effects and can be activated at any time when the meter is full. Animations become flashier with rarer characters, and the skills are charming and show who the characters are. When it comes to character leveling, it's not too complicated. There are only 4 asterisk or 5 asterisk units, and each character has 5 ascensions with about 20 levels in between each one, maxing out at level 100. Traces are similar to Genshin's constellations, and you need materials to level up talents on the traces screen. Light cones are like chips that give buffs to your character, with stronger buffs for matching your character's path. They can be leveled up with materials and refined to increase stats. So in particular, the tier list doesn't include all the characters. In my opinion, I only list characters that are worth taking time to gain and training. Well, let's talk about S+ tier first. Seal. A 5-star rarity character with the quantum element. Her normal attack deals quantum DMG equal to 110% of her ATK to a single enemy, while her charged attack deals quantum DMG equal to her ATK to a single enemy. Upon defeating an enemy, Seal gains a 25% SPD boost for 2 turns and enters a buffed state that grants her an extra action. In this buffed state, Seal's DMG is increased by 88% for 1 turn. However, enemies defeated during this extra action will not trigger another buffed state. After using her technique, Seal gains stealth for 20 seconds, making her undetectable to enemies. When she attacks enemies while in stealth mode, she immediately enters the buffed state. Bronya. A 5-star character in the game and has the wind element. Her skill deals wind damage equal to 110% of her ATK to a single enemy, while also removing a debuff from a single ally and advancing their actions by 100%, increasing their DMG by 79% for 1 turn. She also boosts the ATK of all allies by 64% and increases their crit DMG by 17% of her own crit DMG plus 21% for 2 turns. After using her basic ATK, her next action will be advanced forward by 33%. Furthermore, after using Bronya's technique, all allies' ATK increases by 15% for 2 turns in the next battle. Tingyun. A 4-star character with the element lightning. Her skill deals lightning DMG to a single enemy, and also blesses a single ally, causing them to deal additional lightning DMG when hitting enemies for 3 turns. Additionally, her skill can increase the target ally's DMG by 68% for 3 turns, and regenerate 50 energy for them. When hitting an enemy, Tingyun also deals extra lightning DMG based on the ATK of the blessed character. Finally, Tingyun immediately regenerates 50 energy upon using her technique, Clara. A 5-star rarity character with physical element. She deals physical DMG to a single enemy equal to 110% of her ATK and to all enemies equal to 132% of her ATK. Additionally, enemies marked with Sverig's Mark of Counter will receive extra physical DMG equal to 132% of her ATK. All marks of counter will be removed once her skill is used. After using her ultimate, Clara's DMG taken is further reduced by 27%, but she has a higher chance of being targeted by enemies for 2 turns. Moreover, Sverig's counter is enhanced, ensuring counters are launched with its DMG multiplier on the enemy increased by 172% when an ally is attacked. The adjacent enemies take 50% of the DMG dealt to the target enemy, and the enhanced counter can be triggered twice. Clara's DMG taken is reduced by 15% while protected by Sverige. Any enemies attacking Clara will be marked with Sverige's mark of counter, and Clara will retaliate with a counter that deals physical DMG equal to 176% of her ATK. Clara also immediately attacks the enemy upon entering battle, and there's an increased chance that she will be attacked by enemies for 2 turns. Next, let's talk about S tier, Pela. A 4-star character with the ice element. She can deal ice DMG to a single enemy equal to 110% of her ATK. She can also remove 1 buff from an enemy and deal ice DMG equal to 264% of her ATK. Pela's ultimate ability allows her to deal ice DMG equal to 151% of her ATK to all enemies, with a 100% chance of inflicting the exposed status. Exposed enemies will have their def reduced by 43% for 2 turns. If Pela's attack inflicts a debuff on the enemy, she gains 11 energy. When entering battle, Pela can deal ice DMG equal to 80% of her ATK to a random enemy with a 100% chance of lowering the def of all enemies by 20% for 2 turns. Pela immediately attacks the enemy when using her abilities. Jeopard. A 5-star ice element character who deals ice damage to a single enemy equal to 110% of his ATK. He can also deal ice damage equal to 220% of his ATK to a single enemy, with a 65% chance to freeze them for 1 turn. While frozen, the enemy takes ice damage over time equal to 55% of Jeopard's ATK each turn and cannot take action. Jeopard can also apply a shield to all allies that absorbs damage equal to 64% of his def plus 258 for 3 turns. If Jeopard is struck with a killing blow, he restores 55% of his max HP instead of being incapacitated. This effect can only happen once per battle. After using Jeopard's technique, at the start of the next battle, he applies a shield to all allies that absorbs damage equal to 24% of his def plus 96 for 2 turns. Susang. Susang is a 4-star physical character. She deals 110% ATK physical DMG to a single enemy, and has a chance to trigger Sword Stance after the final hit, dealing additional damage. With Weakness Break, Sword Stance is guaranteed. Her skill deals 231% ATK physical DMG to a single enemy and has a chance to trigger Sword Stance. Her SPD increases by 21% for 2 turns when there is an enemy with Weakness Break. Additionally, her skill increases her ATK by 32%, grants 2 extra chances to trigger Sword Stance for 2 turns, and deals 50% of her ATK as AoE physical DMG upon entering battle. Bailu. A 5-star character with the lightning element, deals lightning DMG equal to 110% of her ATK to a single enemy. She can heal a single ally for 18% of her max HP plus 138, and then heal that ally 2 more times, but each subsequent healing reduces the outgoing healing by 15%. She can also heal all allies for 20% of her max HP plus 155, while invigorating allies who are not already invigorated, or prolonging the invigoration of allies who are already invigorated. Invigoration can last for 2 turns and cannot stack. When an invigorated ally is hit, she can heal that ally for 11% of her max HP plus 108, and this can trigger for up to 2 times. When an ally is knocked down, she immediately heals them for 31% of her max HP plus 249, but this effect can only be triggered once per battle. Finally, after using Bailu's technique, all allies will be invigorated for 1 turn at the start of the next battle. Trailblazer. A 5-star fire character that can consume up to 4 stacks of magma will to enhance their basic ATK, dealing fire DMG to a single enemy and adjacent enemies. Whenever a skill is used, the Trailblazer's DMG reduction is increased by up to 52% and gains 1 stack of magma with a 100% base chance to attract all enemy attacks for 1 turn. The Trailblazer can also deal fire DMG to all enemies, and the next basic ATK will automatically be enhanced without consuming magma will. The Trailblazer gains 1 stack of magma each time they are hit, up to a maximum of 8 stacks, and when magma has no fewer than 4 stacks, the basic ATK is automatically enhanced. The Trailblazer also applies a shield to all allies when they use basic ATK, skill, or ultimate, absorbing DMG equal to 4.8 to 8.6% of the Trailblazer's def plus 16 to 34. The shield lasts for 2 turns. At the start of the next battle, the Trailblazer gains a shield that blocks DMG equal to 50% of their def plus 160 for 1 turn. And then, A tier, Arlen. A 4-star lightning character in the game. His basic ATK deals lightning DMG to a single enemy, with the amount increasing based on the level of the skill. When using his ultimate, Arlen will consume 15% of his max HP to deal a large amount of lightning DMG to a single enemy. However, if his HP is too low, this skill cannot be used. His ultimate also deals lightning DMG to any adjacent enemies. Additionally, Arlen's DMG increases for every percentage of HP below his max HP, with a maximum of 40/80/88% more DMG. Arlen also has a passive effect where he immediately attacks all enemies at the start of a battle, dealing lightning DMG equal to 80% of his ATK. Dan Heng. A 4-star wind element character who deals wind DMG to a target enemy equal to 110% of his ATK. He also deals wind DMG equal to 286% of his ATK to a single enemy, and on a crit hit, there is a 100% base chance to reduce the target's SPD by 15% for 2 turns. If the enemy is slowed, Dan Heng's ultimate's DMG multiplier increases by 129% and his next attack's wind residential PEN increases by 39% when he is the target of an ally's ability. This effect can be triggered again after Dan Heng has taken action 1 time. After using a technique, Dan Heng's ATK increases by 40% for 3 turns in the next battle. Welt. A 5-star character with an element of imaginary. His first ability deals imaginary DMG equal to 110% of his ATK to a single enemy. He then follows up with 3 slashing attacks, each dealing imaginary DMG equal to 79% of his ATK to random enemies. There is a 77% base chance of slowing the enemy's SPD by 10% for 2 turns upon hit. He also deals imaginary DMG equal to 162% of his ATK to all enemies, with a 100% base chance of imprisoning them. Imprisoned enemies have their actions delayed by 41% and SPD reduced by 10%. If the enemy is already slowed, he deals additional imaginary DMG equal to 66% of his ATK to the enemy. After using his technique, Welt creates a small black hole zone that lasts for 15 seconds. Himiko. A 5-star fire character who deals fire DMG equal to 110% of her ATK to a single enemy. She can also deal fire DMG equal to 220% of her ATK to a single enemy and fire DMG equal to 88% of her ATK to any adjacent enemies. If fully charged, up to 3 stacks, she can deal fire DMG equal to 149% of her ATK to all enemies after an ally performs an attack, and consumes all charge stacks. Himiko also gains 10 energy for each enemy defeated and a stack of charge, max 3 stacks, when an enemy's weakness is broken. At the beginning of the battle, she gains 1 stack of charge. After using her technique, she can use a satellite beam to create a burning zone that lasts for 15 seconds, and when entering battle in the burning zone, there is a 100% base chance to increase fire DMG taken by enemies by 10% for 2 turns. Himiko can also deal fire DMG equal to 237% of her ATK to all enemies and gain 1 stack of charge. Asta. A 4-star fire element character who deals fire DMG equal to 110% of her ATK to a single enemy. She can deal fire DMG equal to 55% of her ATK to a single enemy with 4 more bombardments, and each bombardment deals fire DMG equal to 55% of her ATK to a random enemy. Asta also increases the SPD of all allies by 50 for 2 turns. She gains a charging stack for every different enemy hit by Asta, plus an additional stack if the enemy hit has fire weakness. For every charging stack Asta has, all allies' ATK increases by 11%, up to 5 times. Starting from her second turn, Asta's charging stack count is reduced by 3 at the beginning of every turn. She immediately attacks the enemy and deals fire DMG equal to 50% of her ATK to all enemies after entering battle. March 7th, a 4-star character with Ice Element. Her attacks deal Ice DMG to a single enemy equal to 110% of her ATK. She can also provide a shield to a single ally that can absorb damage equal to 86% of her def plus 344 for 3 turns. If the ally's HP is 30% or higher, the chance of enemies attacking that ally will be greatly increased. Her ultimate ability deals Ice DMG to all enemies equal to 162% of her ATK, and has a 50% chance to freeze enemies for 1 turn. Frozen enemies cannot act and take Ice at the beginning of each turn. Additionally, after a shielded ally is attacked, March 7th can counter up to 2 times each turn, dealing Ice DMG equal to 110% of her ATK. When entering battle, there's a 100% base chance for a random enemy to be frozen for 1 turns and take Ice DMG equal to 50% of March 7th's ATK at the beginning of each turn. Serval. A 4-star lightning element character who can deal lightning damage to a single enemy equal to 110% of her ATK. She can also deal lightning damage equal to 132% of her ATK to a single enemy and 66% of her ATK to adjacent enemies, with an 80% chance of shocking them for 2 turns. While shocked, enemies take lightning damage over time equal to 88% of Serval's ATK each turn. She can also deal lightning damage equal to 194% of her ATK to all enemies, and enemies already shocked will have their shock state extended by 2 turns. After attacking, Serval deals additional lightning damage equal to 66% of her ATK to all shocked enemies. Upon entering battle, she deals lightning damage equal to 50% of her ATK to a random enemy, and all enemies have a 100% chance of becoming shocked for 3 turns. While shocked, enemies take lightning damage over time equal to 50% of Serval's ATK at the beginning of each turn. Natasha. A 4-star hero with physical element. Her basic attack deals physical damage equal to 110% of her ATK to a single enemy. She can also heal a single ally for 16% of her max HP plus 129, and continue to heal them for another 11% of her max HP plus 40/80/86 at the beginning of each turn for 2 turns. Additionally, she can heal all allies for 20% of her max HP plus 159. When healing allies with low HP, at 30% or lower, her outgoing healing is increased by 55%. Her special attack immediately deals physical DMG equal to 80% of her ATK to a random enemy, with a 100% base chance to weaken all enemies. Weakened enemies deal 30% less DMG to allies for 1 turns. Yanqing. A 5-star ice character who can deal 110% ATK ice DMG to a single enemy, or 242% ATK ice DMG, and activate Empathic Sword Link for 1 turn, increasing his crit rate by 60% and crit DMG by an extra 54%. When Yanqing attacks, there is a 62% chance to perform a follow-up attack, dealing ice DMG and potentially freezing the enemy for 1 turn. After using his technique, Yanqing deals 30% more DMG for 3 turns to targets with HP equal to or higher than 40% of his max HP. Next, B tier, Sampo. A 4-star wind element character who can deal 110% of her ATK as wind DMG to a single enemy. She can also throw a dagger that deals wind DMG equal to 61% of her ATK, which can bounce up to 4 times between enemies. Additionally, she can deal wind DMG equal to 172% of her ATK to all enemies and increase their dot taken by 32% for 2 turns. Sampo's attacks have a 65% base chance to inflict wind shear for 3 turns, causing enemies to take wind dot equal to 52% of Sampo's ATK at the beginning of each turn, and can stack up to 5 times. Furthermore, Sampo can throw a flash bomb at the enemy to inflict blind for 10 seconds, making them unable to detect your team. When attacking a blinded enemy, there is a 100% fixed chance to delay all enemies' actions by 25% when entering combat. Hook. A 4-star fire character. Hook's normal attack deals fire damage equal to 110% of her ATK to a single enemy. Her charged attack deals fire damage equal to 308% of her ATK to a single enemy and has a 100% chance of inflicting burn for 2 turns, as well as dealing fire damage equal to 88% of her ATK to any adjacent enemies. Burned enemies will take fire damage equal to 55% of Hook's ATK at the start of each turn. Her elemental burst deals massive fire damage equal to 432% of her ATK to a single enemy. When Hook attacks a target that's already burned, she deals additional fire damage and regenerates some energy. Upon entering battle, Hook deals fire damage equal to 50% of her ATK to a random enemy, and has a 100% chance of inflicting burn on all enemies for 3 turns. Trailblazer. A 5-star physical character. Her basic attack deals physical DMG equal to 110% of her ATK to a single enemy, and her charged attack deals physical DMG to a single enemy and any adjacent enemies. She has 2 modes for her ultimate attack. Mode 1 deals high physical DMG to a single enemy, while Mode 2 deals physical DMG to a single enemy and adjacent enemies. When she inflicts Weakness Break on an enemy, her ATK increases by 22%, and this effect can stack up to 2 times. She can also heal all allies for 15% of their max HP. Finally, let's talk about C-Tier, Herta. A 4-star ice element character who deals 110% of her ATK as ice DMG to a single enemy, or 110% of her ATK as ice DMG to all enemies. If the enemy's HP is above 50% of their max HP, she deals 20% more DMG to that target. She also deals 216% of her ATK as ice DMG to all enemies and launches a follow-up attack, dealing 43% of her ATK as ice DMG to all enemies when an ally's attack causes an enemy's HP to fall to 50% or lower. After using her technique, her ATK increases by 40% for 3 turns in the next battle. Chinke. A 4-star quantum element character. Her attack deals 242% quantum DMG to a single enemy and 96% quantum DMG to adjacent enemies. She immediately draws 2 jade tiles and gains an extra turn. Her attack DMG is increased by 31% for 1 turn, stackable up to 4 times. She deals 216% quantum DMG to all enemies and changes all jade tiles to fish suit. At the beginning of an ally's turn, she randomly draws 1 jade tile from cracks, dots, or bamboo suits. Up to 4 tiles may be held. Holding 4 tiles of the same suit enters the concealed calm state, improving her ATK by 79% and enhancing her basic ATK. After using her technique, she draws 2 jade tiles when the battle starts. And then, let's talk about Reroll Guide. You could reroll again if you get the character you wanna. Follow my perform, launch Honkai Star Rail on your device and log in as guest. After that, complete the tutorial part. Then if you can explore this game yourself without a guide, you need to go to the mail first, which is on the top right. And you will be given the option to do Gacha, where you can claim all the rewards given, such as 18 Star Rail passes, a 4-star character serval, limited avatar, and lots of credits. After that, in this summon, there are 3 character banners and 1 light cone banner available, and you can choose which banner you want yourself. As mentioned above, Honkai Star Rail's gacha rate is if a player does not obtain a 4-star character or light cone after 9 warps, the 10th warp is guaranteed to be a 4-star character or light cone. If you're looking to get a free 5-star character, then the best method I recommend is that you can only warp 50 times on the departure warp. You are guaranteed to obtain 1 5-star character within the 50 warps, but you can only obtain 1 of the below 5-star characters from the departure warp. If you manage to get the character you want, you can bind an account. If you are unsatisfied with the gacha, tap Settings, delete your game data and re-roll again. For gacha rate, 5-star characters rate is 0.6%, for star characters rate is 5.1%. Get easy to use skills and easy to use characters so that you can progress even in the early stages of the game. It goes without saying that the above list reflects my opinions. While I recommend picking the S+ tier characters, you are urged to use the ones you are comfortable with. This allows you to explore new options and master every character in Honkai Star Rail, and wish you all luck for taking the victory through your battles, and I'll leave the timestamps down in the description. Don't forget to follow, like and share my channel. Thank you for watching this video. See you next vid.